Hi everyone, and welcome to today's Drama Hospital recap. As always, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos or recaps. Really fast, if you haven't already voted today, go out and vote right now. It's, by the time you see this, it'll definitely go up before 7, so you still have time. Remember, if you're in line, they can't turn you away to vote, so stay in line. And if you're watching this while you're in line, good job! I'm proud of you. I voted first thing this morning, and oh my goodness, it was just, I literally teared up in the voting booth, and then teared up as I left, and then teared up again, and oh my goodness, and then I saw the video of people putting the I voted stickers on Susan B. Anthony's grave, and I'm just gonna cry right now, because no matter your politics, this is a historic election, and it just, oh, it means so much. But let's get to today's recap before I just totally break down and cry. At General Hospital, Finn has to ration his drug supply because he is running low, and his progress on his cure has stalled. 14 failed attempts, apparently, and he still has Hayden on the mind. So he isolated the pathogen that's infecting him, and it's in this, I know the right word isn't beaker, because it's the one that, like, kind of has a flared bottom, but I, for the life of me, cannot remember. And I know my science teachers are like just rolling right now, even though they're all alive, but I can't remember the name of it. But he isolated the pathogen. That's just in a big beaker thing. I'm sorry. So maybe that is, anyway. So Brad comes in, and Brad, yay! So he's not happy Finn's back, because he doesn't like this whole mystery thing that he's working on that no one's allowed to talk to him about or whatever. So Brad picks up the thing with the isolated pathogen, and Finn is like, put that down right now. Like, he is not a happy camper. So Finn congratulates him on his recent marriage, and he can see Finn is shaking, and he asks what's wrong with him. So Brad asks if he accidentally infected himself with something, which he didn't, like, really. I mean, he got infected somewhere, but it wasn't really, like, anyway, semantics. So he says he has low blood sugar, and he asks if he's holding a pathogen, and Finn's like, yeah, and he's like, is it contagious? And he's like, well, it can be if you have an open wound. So Brad says he's compromising everyone's safety in the hospital, and Finn's like, no, you are, because you're holding the pathogen. I would never have done that. He doesn't really say that, but it was kind of like a, no, you are, no, you are. So Hayden apparently didn't make friends at the board meeting, and she was honest and didn't sugarcoat anything, and a board member brings up her past. Oh, Tracy, and this board member got out of the elevator. They're standing, like, in the lobby of what I think is the ER or something. So he has an issue with her. The board voted to hire her, and Tracy has complete faith in her, which is just so interesting to see that turn of events happen. And what happened? So Hayden thanks Tracy for having her back and for getting her the job. And if Hayden fails, Tracy's going to run her out of town. So I'm like, that lasted like 2 seconds. So Hayden's like, look, I'll just leave if it fails. And she says, because then Tracy's like, well, what would Finn think? Or no, she was like, I don't care if it breaks Finn's heart if I run you out of town. And Hayden's like, he wouldn't even care if I left Port Charles. And Tracy can see they both care about each other. And Hayden's like, I just want to talk business. And she has some cost-cutting ideas, and as she's going through her paper, she gives herself a paper cut. If you think you see where this is going, I guarantee you I did not, which is why I had to go back and put these details in. So Brad comes to talk to Tracy about Finn's work, and he tells them that he's sick, and how can he perform any research being as sick as he is. So then Brad's on the phone with Lucas, and Tracy wants to keep an eye on him to be like, what's it going to say? And Hayden is going to go down to the lab to check on Finn. And Brad still has some serious concerns, and he says he's not going to go anywhere near Finn's lab, which seems like a good idea. Hi, Mish, please. Finn is doing an experiment with the pathogen, and he leaves the beaker, I know that's not what it's called, on, like, the side of the table, way too close to the edge. I'm sorry, you got, like, an infectious pathogen, you put that in the middle of the table. Robin would have never done this. So he shakes and loses control and knocks it over, and it breaks, and it's all over the floor. So the pathogen, oh yeah, I just said that. So he leaves the room to look for a cleanup kit because he's so, like, frazzled, he can't remember if there's one in the room. So then Hayden knocks on a door that says hazardous material, and without getting a hey, come in, she just walks right in, which, trust me, I'm not happy about that either. So she then, like, walks all the way over, not realizing that there's liquid and glass on the floor, and is, like, walking in it. And then she sees it, and it's, like, in her nice shoes. So she starts, with her bare hand that she just got a cut on, taking the glass out of her shoe. What are you doing? Like, seriously, on so many levels, what is happening here? Because none of it makes sense. So the glass with the pathogen on it. So then Finn is coming back with the cleanup kit, and Tracy calls him for, like, reassurance, and and then Tracy's like, is Hayden down there with you? And he's like, no, and, I guess she really doesn't care, this, that, and the other thing. And then it occurs to him, oh, if she came down here looking for me, she may have gone in my lab, and wouldn't you know it, he walks in, she's in the lab, and he sees her, and, like, he's like, oh my god, and I'm like, oh my god, and I'm just realizing I'm sounding, like, exactly like my mom right now, and it kind of freaked me out for a second. At Elizabeth's place, her and Franco have this long drawn out conversation. Art is kissing art. Art is love art. Like, I'm sorry, but that's pretty much what it was. Like, I can't give you any more details here. So then they start kissing again and are headed upstairs when the phone rings. Of course it does. And I feel like it kind of saved us a little bit because I wasn't super thrilled about that. And she gets super serious and she has to take it. So she got called from the Pentonville Parole Board, and they didn't have her new number or new address, so they couldn't get in contact with her until now, and it's such short notice. And she's like, short notice for what? The man who raped her is up for parole. Again, we learned he was up for parole 5 years earlier, too. They feel he's been rehabilitated. So, apparently, if you don't know the story, when she was 15, I think they said his name was Tom Baker, but I could have gotten that wrong. I was dealing with 2 kids at the time. Well, no, not in the room. I had put it on. I had paused it. They were whatever, and then when they were out of the room, I played it again. I just want to let you know. But I might have missed something in between because it's a TV I'm not familiar with, and their pause and play seems to, have some fun and skip a few parts. So then she didn't report it, and he threatened to blackmail her friend Emily with doctored nude photos, and she was underage at the time, so he got 20 years in prison. And then the first time he was up for parole, I believe she said Emily had passed, so her mother made like a petition to the court that Elizabeth would get to give a victim impact statement. So she has the chance to make another one, but it's coming up really soon. And, she feels he's a predator. He belongs in a cage. And she's just, this is a whole side of her I don't think I've ever seen before. Like, this is like a super serious side of Elizabeth, At the Metro Court, Alexis asked Diane to look over the Greek document to double check her work. Madison, don't know her. Apparently she was a colleague of Alexis and Diane's, but like on the other side, because we learned that Alexis had like beat her in court last year or something. But she said she's pulling for Alexis. Her name's Madison Larson. We might see more of her in the future. I don't know. So Julian and Curtis. Sorry, Sarah Jane just texted something really funny. Julian and Curtis come in, and they sit at the bar, and the bartender won't serve Julian on Carly's orders. So Julian gets the bartender's name and threatens to sue him. And, when Julian Jerome is threatening you and he's saying, I'm going to sue you, I don't know. I'm starting to think he's not going to sue you. So Curtis attempts to smooth things over and he orders 2 drinks. So technically the employee isn't doing anything against Carly's orders because he's just an employee. It's not, it's not his fault. So Curtis tells Julian that Jason is also investigating. And yes, Jason figured out he was working for Julian. So he tells Julian Pete's dead. Julian wants to know what happened, and he asks who wanted Pete dead. So then Diane, back at Alexis' table, wants to make it known that Julian isn't allowed here since Alexis frequents it, so technically it's covered under the restraining order. And Alexis wants her to authenticate the document first. So she's like, she looks through it. She says, yes, your father changed his will, so Valentine does inherit everything, and Spencer's out now, which is ridiculous. Although if Valentine got him to do that the same way that he got Nicholas to sign stuff over, So then Alexis gets a call. So Diane goes over to Julian and asks him if he's going to leave voluntarily or if she has to make a scene. And she's eager to argue it in front of a judge. And Alexis comes by and says she's leaving anyway, so Julian can do whatever he wants. And she has to go pick up Danny. So Julian wants to see Danny, and Diane starts talking really loud about what he allegedly did. And Julian then touches Alexis's arm, and she just doesn't really say anything and leaves. And then he reaches for Diane, and Diane's like, no, no, no. Don't touch me. I have more in my purse than just, forget what she said, but basically, you know, she's being Diane, and Diane's awesome. Julian tells Diane that he's worried about Alexis's drinking. Diane tells him not to slander Alexis's name, and he tells Curtis that he really is worried about Alexis, and Curtis is like, yeah, cool. Can we talk about Pete now? Because Pete, you know, and not about the wife you were going to murder. So Curtis asks if it's possible that Pete double-crossed him. But, okay, so if Pete was the driver, would he not have been driving Julian home? Would he not have also died in the car bomb? Legitimate question. Is anyone else thinking that? Like, I don't know. It's just a thought I was having a lot during this episode. So Julian honestly doesn't know, and he's just really bitter that Sonny is also a killer and gets to see his family, yet he's withheld from his family. So just that, his words, not mine. At Alexis's place, Danny asks about Julian, and Alexis does the right thing. You know, he loves you. Yes, he doesn't live here anymore. You know, it's not you, basically. And also not dragging Julian's name through the mud, which is really hard to do. And honestly, a part of me wouldn't blame her, but, you know, whatever. Oh, I want to do a fun filter. 1 second. How do I stop? Hey, do a comment election day. This is what I wanted to do, and I totally forgot until now, but it looks really weird because, all right, let's just finish it out like this because we're so serious. And, okay, so she's also drinking right in front of Danny when she's the only one watching him, and then she puts the cookies in the oven. So she's drinking and using a potentially dangerous appliance with a child in the house. Good one. I'm thinking this house isn't going to be the lake house isn't going to be the only house that went up in smoke. So the cookies are done, and Alexis is passed out, and Danny runs into the kitchen, and I'm like, oh my god, this is literally really bad. Like, I'm barely handling this right now. At the penthouse, the J. Sam penthouse, it feels so good to have that as a place again. So Sam asks how things went. Jason tells her someone shot Pete. Guy seemed like a professional. What did Pete know? And he thinks Pete knowingly turned a blind eye while someone planted the bomb. And he shows, Sam's like, we have to get his phone records. And Jason's like, haha, I have his phone. And my invisible phone right here. Sam's thrilled. I've literally never seen her happier. And then tells her about Curtis and how he shared some information. So they're tracing a call Pete made around the time that Sonny called the broker. And it's coming up as an escort service, which could be a possible front, but what's the business name? So Sam thinks that maybe Pete really was making a date and using this escort service. Maybe he didn't know Julian would die. Like, maybe he didn't know what would happen, but then there's a blocked number, and not I wrote, not if she has anything to do with it. She'll know who wrote this. So she got a name, Oscar Jessic, I believe, or Jessic, definitely something like that. The name sounds familiar, but Jason can't place it, and he doesn't want to involve Sonny. So he called during the window that, the bomb could have been planted, and then 5 calls after Morgan was killed, which seems a little suspicious. And now end scene. So Elizabeth is writing her statement, and Franco tries to offer support, water, tea, anything. And he's like, well, maybe this will be easier for you if I just leave. And then she starts crying, and he doesn't leave, and he stays with her. And yeah, I mean, I like them, and now all of a sudden I don't, but I don't hate them. I'm very conflicted. Jason has a new theory. What if someone entirely different planted the bomb, and it has nothing to do with Sonny? Curtis tells Julian Sonny suffered, and the death of his own son. So, I don't know. I guess Curtis was making the point that he's always going to have basically, he wants to look for the truth, but now it seems clear to him that Julian just wants to railroad Sonny at any means necessary. That wasn't the right words. Tracy comes into the Metro Court. Diane calls her over, and Tracy isn't celebrating a hospital reopening just yet because they have to survive the rest of it. Julian is in cahoots with the board member that was giving Hayden a problem earlier. And it turns out Julian is behind this condos thing. What? I did not see that coming from a mile away. Like, legit took me by surprise. I like when General Hospital takes me by surprise. And Tracy sees them together. Finn tells Hayden to drop the glass right now, and he grabs her hands, looking for an open wound, which we know he's gonna find. So now he's effectively infected Hayden, assuming that, you know, it got into her bloodstream. The fire alarm in Alexis's house is going off. She wakes up, and Danny is nowhere to be found. Good job, Alexis. All right, that is it for today's General Hospital recap. Again, get out there to the polls. If you are in line, they cannot stop you from voting. Just make sure you get in line before the polls close and stay in line. Literally, every vote counts. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you tomorrow. We'll see, and I hope you have a great night, and I'm going to TGI Fridays to enjoy nice steak and mashed potatoes, because, you know, I like steak and mashed potatoes. But yeah, seriously, thank you so much. If you enjoyed the October wrap-up, let me know if you did, and I will tweak it for November if you have any suggestions, and I think that's just about it. Alright, thank you so much, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye! Oh, at like a great time tomorrow, because I have off work, so I'm gonna get it up when I used to get the recaps up, which was right after the show, so look forward to that. Woo!